Hello and welcome to 27 by 40, a podcast about movie posters. My name is Chris.
This is it.
This week, we are doing the our top five movie posters of 1992.
Yeah. So this is like, I guess, the fourth
fourth
episode
episode.
of this.
Yeah.
We've just been doing, we do random years essentially. And we just sort of grab like, the five posters that really stand out the most to us for that year that we like. And that's how we do this.
Yeah.
And we show them to each other.
Yeah. And then, being that this is a video, you can also see them.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of our stuff, which is podcasts.
Yeah.
So, not that there's also a podcast version of this.
This is
but
technically still a podcast, but yes.
I guess that's true, yeah.
But intended for a visual component.
Exactly.
All right. So this is 92.
This is 92.
Any sort of introductory thoughts on 92?
Well, we already did 91 for episode 2.
Funny enough.
Yeah, and so it's very quickly we ended up doing the following up year. 91 was a rough year because evidently in the 90s, movie poster, like art and composition, kind of went down the toilet. 92, definitely no better.
No, it was worse for me.
Definitely worse.
I had to really dig, and not really dig. Like, I knew most of the ones I wanted, but they were like the only ones that were even considerable. Like 99%.
So you got 5 and then just barely?
Pretty much. They're the 5 I wanted. I mean, there was maybe 1 or 2 that I had to look and be like, okay, how do I finish this off type of thing. But I'm like happy. I'm very happy with my choices. I have no reservations about the choices at all. There's none that I had to be like, oh, I guess I'll include this because I have no choice. No, nothing like that. But yeah, it was like, by and large, I hate this era of posters. I hate,
and I have a feeling it's only going to get worse through the 90s.
The pieced together like thing of just like, let's take some heads of characters and some other like weird design.
It's so just like scattershot, and it's on the plus side though. Like I'm in the same boat as you. I think I had on my initial run through of looking at the movies for the year, I think I had 10. I immediately got rid of 2, and I had 8, and I was like, I think I know what my 5 are out of this 8, and so I had to make it, but like it really wasn't like a big like there was not a lot of big decision making.
There's a lot of movies. There's a lot of posters on this one where I'm like, oh, I love that movie. What does the poster look like? And I'm like, oh, it's just like,
oh man,
like, it's the heads of like of all the main characters like lined up like they're on a pole, invisible pole. And that's the poster.
It's either random pictures of their heads either along the bottom of the poster or along the side of the poster. And meanwhile, and then in the center is just the 2 main characters on some kind of like whatever cares background. It's so, I'm like, people took like 5 minutes to make movie posters during this era.
I hate it.
I am...
Okay, well, I have nothing like that, and for good reason.
No, me either.
And I'm curious to see what you have. And I'm curious to see if we have any crossover, because sometimes we have quite a bit, and sometimes
in a year like
less.
This, with the very, like not a lot of good ones to pick from, I think it's going to really come down to, like, really, like, or do we personally see eye to eye on like a particular one?
Well, yes and no.
So we'll start with my number 5.
All right.
Which is Cold Heaven.
Wow, that is rather interesting.
Yeah, never heard of this movie. And I thought the poster was just wild.
Yeah.
Like,
I've heard of Nicholas Roeg.
Yeah.
And obviously I've heard of Teresa Russell.
Between seduction and deception lies the fate of a mortal soul. A journey beyond this life. Yeah, I was just like, that's a real... It's like, okay, it's a woman floating in water, and then there's like the...
Like a face screaming or something.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, this is...
It's pretty wild.
Evocative. I'm kind of like...
Oh, Free Shavagadu.
Yeah, I kind of like want to like... look up and see what this movie's about based on this poster.
I'm surprised you didn't already watch the trailer.
Yeah, it was honestly a case of didn't have time.
Because I know you're all about like, oh, well, that sounds interesting. Let's watch the trailer.
Yeah, but yeah, so bit of a weird one. but I really thought it was something. It did that like evocative.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my 5. So on to your 5.
It's The Power of One.
Oh,
do you know that movie?
I'm aware of it. I do not believe I have seen
it. It's pretty good. I remember really enjoying it when I was young.
It's the Dorfmeister.
First saw it. Yeah. Early Steven Dorff.
Oh.
It's
Morgan Freeman.
As the top notes, it was directed by John G. Avildsen, who directed the original Rocky and The Karate Kid. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that sort of inspirational, but yeah, it's sort of an interesting, like obviously a great cast. I haven't seen it since like way back when, not since like 92, but I've seen it like maybe, I've seen it more than that, but like maybe probably not since like the late 90s maybe.
It's interesting poster. Like,
well, it's like Africa. It's all about,
it's almost in that vein of a bunch of the characters' heads, but the way they
because they're different sizes and they put it together as this kind of
the collage is what makes it good. It's a very good composition of that style.
Exactly, and it has
although I kind of do wish like the below part where the like it shows like the Africa and the sun. Kind of wish like that was more like, did we like everything below that where it says like the Power One, everything was that needed to be so much of the poster, but
but it allowed that. Like I think it has a really cool logo.
Yes, I really like the way the font is. And stuff
it's
on
really
that.
well done. I like the color palette is very like soft and kind of pleasing. Like it's very neutral.
I look at it and I think Africa.
Yeah, you think Africa, but it's also kind of like calm, like it's just very, it's not like grabbing you and like shaking you, but yeah, like I thought it was a really cool way to do the sort of like little frames from the story and how they put that together with the different sizes and kind of fit it together as kind of like a piece of art.
It's almost like it's a poster that also doubles as a trailer.
Kind of, yeah.
Which is actually really cool.
And there is, unfortunately, the best I could find was it is a little small, but there is a fair chunk of text at the top there.
But it's very tiny.
It's
text.
a little too small, unfortunately, but it is
even for movie poster text. That's way too small.
Yeah, but it has a little bit of that kind of explaining the movie type of thing. But it's probably best that you can't really see it too well here because. It doesn't take away from the picture and stuff, but that was one that I definitely had in mind. Like as soon as we were like, oh, this is 92 and this is a 92 movie, I was just like, I'm pretty sure that one's going on. But I wasn't sure. Like it was one that was like a possibility, but not like a definite like that's on for sure. I have a couple like that on here, but they were all ones that I like remembered. Without really having to like
that's
like I still looked it up to see what was out there, but like these were all ones like there were none like the one that you just showed where it was like that was a discovery. There was none like that. They were all ones that I was very familiar with.
See, it was for me. It was all I remember. Like, okay, what movies did I like that came out in '92? And I was like, none of those really have good posters. No, so I was like,
same here,
it was like, okay, I guess I gotta just pick from the rest.
That's not entirely true. We'll get to it. But we'll get to it. Anyways, yes. All right. So you're number 4.
My number 4.
Oh,
A Midnight Clear.
Interesting.
Which is a movie I have actually seen.
Front lines of life near the end of innocence came the beginning of matter.
Yeah.
War movie?
Yes, war movie.
Okay.
A young Ethan Hawke, Kevin Dillon.
Frank Wally.
Yeah.
Kevin Dillon. Wow.
John McGinley. I don't really remember a ton about it, but I know I have seen it. But I just thought it is a really stark.
Yeah.
Because it's all done in the black and white. So much of it's black. Ethan Hawke's got the white. They made the poncho he's wearing all white.
It's definitely striking in its kind of sort of just starkness.
Yeah. And just kind of tells you nothing about the movie other than like, okay, I guess it's
I could sort of guess it's some kind of a war movie because they have
guns and grenades and helmets on and
And there, I mean, even like the text kind of implies like Frontlines life near the end of innocence came the beginning of manhood. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sort of fits with the war theme.
But
John C. McKinley.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Again, it's been a very long time since I've seen this, so I don't really remember anything directly about the movie.
He was in Platoon, and I think Kevin Dillon was in Platoon too. He was either in Platoon or in Full Metal Jacket. He was in another,
I think it's Full Metal Jacket.
He was in another really well-known war movie, anyways.
Yeah, you can see him there. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, right. So yeah.
Well, another one I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. Midnight Clear, just very, the sort of the abruptness and starkness when I was looking through the posters.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't look like any of the other posters I've got.
No, it's very nice.
All right, so your number 4.
My 4 is Death Becomes Her.
Ah!
Probably not too much of a shock. It was really hard to find a good copy of that like poster because most of them were either like the other poster. Or were like really bad like variations on this. I was trying to find just like the straight up regular normal poster.
Give me the standard theatrical poster.
But yeah, it's, I mean, if you don't know what the movie is, it's like very like what is going on here because you got like Meryl Streep with like her head the wrong way around. You got Goldie Hawn with a big hole through the middle of her, and the whole thing with the whole candlestick and holding it through the hole and
I mean, it gives you the text on it gives you a little bit of a
Bruce Willis's look, which is very specific for that movie. And it's I mean, I remember this movie since it came out, and I think I actually saw it in the theater, and it's wild.
Yeah,
it's Robert Zemeckis directed.
Yes.
It's very.
It's a good movie.
It was one of those real like groundbreaking visual effects movies to do all the effects with their
well, like the deaths.
Yeah, just all the different things, like the whole and all that stuff. Because I like the whole sort of how, it's not like they regenerate and stuff. No. It's like whatever happens.
Yeah, they just come back to life. Whatever state they're in.
They just can't die.
Yeah.
So it's like they can, so all these things. And so like the whole joke of like how the people that like there was like Isabella Rossellini's character who was where they get like the serum or whatever it is. Like how like she's like lived this long life and blah 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 and how because it's like just the whole like how because of how things escalate and stuff, how like they because they're characters and how awful they are and stuff like that, and how like they kind of start this kind of war of sorts, and how things escalate, and so it's just like something that should have been like, oh yeah, like you could last.
Yeah, you just gotta be careful.
You just gotta be careful.
Yeah.
But like they just basically like go off and it just ruins everything. And it's this real sort of I don't know, like a sort of a comedy of just like oh my god, I can't believe these people,
Yeah.
Because like all they had to do was like,
well, there's a simple-minded selfishness to the characters.
And because it's all about like vanity and like this idea of like oh, like I'll be beautiful forever, blah blah.
Yeah.
And yes, it's really great. I haven't seen it.
It's some real good, like, fun grotesqueness in there.
Yeah, and there's like a good
which is like pictured right here on the.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things I love
for a movie that is not a horror movie. Yeah. I mean, it's a comedy.
Yeah,
it is a fairly grotesque poster.
Yeah,
like you're kind of like, wow, how did they get that? Well, past the censors?
They really skirt the line. Like they basically kind of like we're gonna really bump against the line without really fully crossing it. But I think because it had like such big stars and I don't know, I just really, I mean, we were kind of talking a little bit about like satire of Hollywood kind of.
Yeah.
And this is almost kind of in that vein in a way. It's not directly a satire of Hollywood, but it's like a satire of that kind of like that drive to be like oh, like I have to be
beautiful
and like and like plastic surgery and staying young and all that kind of stuff. And
anti-ageism and
like and like there is a lot of stuff without getting there's no reason to get into all the nitty-gritty. Like obviously just watch the movie if you haven't seen the movie, but I haven't seen it in a while. I should actually probably watch it sometime soon because it's been a really long time. But I always really enjoyed it. I know it's not super well regarded. Like it kind of has a bit of mixed reviews a little bit, maybe even leaning negative. I know it was considered like one of those like movies that had a really big cast and like famous director and stuff like that didn't quite sort of hit the mark. But I just look at it for what it did, and it did some really impressive stuff, and you know, so maybe if I watched it now I'd see like some of the more flawed aspects, but
did well in the box office. Only about like 50-60% in the review scoring.
Well, that's right. I didn't know that it did well at the box office, so that's good. I thought it might have been like a bit of one of those kind of like
I mean, it was
oh no, like embarrass yourself.
It was quite expensive for what it was.
I can imagine.
It was a $50 million comedy in 1992.
But it's because it has like a lot of really like boundary pushing visual effects and stuff, right?
But it made more than triple its budget. So not a huge success, but a success, not a box office film.
Well, that's my 4.
That's your 4. Yeah. So now my 3.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I looked at that one, but it's very like,
It's it ain't you. Yeah,
doesn't do it for me. It's basically just this. You really seem to like the minimal black and white poster.
I kind of didn't think about it right till now, but this is also another one. Is also a minimalist black and white.
I do.
It's got the iconic silhouette there.
I do appreciate a certain amount of minimalness. Like obviously we've talked about that, and you know that like I'm not a big fan of really busy posters and like posters that just look like blah, like stuff all over it. But at the same time, it's like there has to be a bit of a middle ground. For me, it's like well, there's got to be something. You know, and it's like this one almost kind of falls in that category of like there's nothing really there.
I just really like how like bam.
Sure.
Chaplin.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that.
I mean, also, this is one of the few movies, or in my salt picks. This is like, I also love this movie.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. Believe me,
definitely a top 5 for this year.
I looked at it, and there's the other poster. That's used on like the like box art and stuff like that. That I kind of also sort of thought was a maybe, but it's like ultimately it's literally just him as Chaplin standing there. Like every version is either just him standing there or like his face as Chaplin. And it's like, it's a great performance, especially when you know like the state that Downey was in at that time. I mean, that was like
amazing. He got that was one of the
lowest points that he was ever at was at that point. And it's like that, and like when he got like fired from Ally McBeal in like the late 90s because he couldn't keep it together. Because that was kind of like they gave him a chance. That was like his last look. Like we know it's
the 90s have been rough.
Yeah, like we know that it's risky to hire Robert Downey Jr. at this point, but we're gonna give him a chance, and he blew it.
It's TV. How hard can it be?
Yeah, and he absolutely blew it, and that was the final straw. Was getting fired from Ally McBeal. It's like how is that possible? And that was like what led to his final rehab.
That was the
well, I think that was like around the time he like went to jail and stuff. And then he had his final rehab, and then it's been good ever since. But the 90s were rough time for Robert Downey Jr. And knowing that now, because I didn't know how bad it was, obviously back then. So like knowing that now and looking back on like how amazing his performance was in that movie, it always just boggles my mind. I'm like, man, that just shows you how good. Yeah.
But this definitely isn't like I would put this poster on my wall. Like frame this on my wall, like that's sort of in that.
It doesn't do it for me
because it's the art. There's an artisticness to it that I really appreciate.
I get you.
It's not your bag.
It's for me. It doesn't quite
too minimal. Too minimal for you.
It's too minimal for me.
Need a little more.
I need a little more. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
maybe
see.
if they'd done something more with like the logo, that would have helped.
Rather than having it just such a
it's just
blog.
everything is so plain that it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. I feel like maybe look, it speaks for itself. Maybe you need to speak a little harder.
Well, no, but I'm saying for me, I'm not saying I'm not saying you're wrong for choosing it. You chose it for your own reasons. Right? But that just goes to show we're not the same person, you know. We don't always see everything the same way.
All right. So that's my number 3. So now your number 3.
Yeah. So Bram Stoker's Dracula. There is a couple of different posters for this.
Well, there's the other theatrical one, which is
with the people,
with the two of them, with the two of them in the middle.
Yeah.
And then it's got the big arch of the Gothic arch.
Yeah.
I almost went with that.
I think that's the standard.
That was one of the ones I decided not to.
Theatrical poster, but this is the one that I remember.
This is the better one.
It's the one that I remember because there was this, and before this, there was the teaser poster where it had the same sort of writing style, but it said "Beware."
Yeah,
and it didn't give any other information of what it was, and it had the head thing was more simplified.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the one that I remember. It's also used in almost every other country.
Yeah,
you can find a version of this with
every language,
every language substituted for there's French, but it's always that "Love Never Dies" tagline, and you can find it in every language.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to find a decent.
It's very iconic.
Yeah, it took me a while to find a decent copy of the English version, but there it is.
Yeah.
And speaking of the minimalism that I could get behind, I mean, there's nothing on the cover of that poster other than. But it has this nice artistic kind of background with texture. It has texture in the background, right?
Yeah.
There's different sort of.
It's got that stone wall there with the
sort of different texturing, and then the head, the statue heads thing, and then that logo obviously is very memorable. I remember this.
My artist eye has one small issue with this poster, and it's the shadow that is being cast is way too dark for how bright everything else is,
right?
And it's just it looks.
Well, I don't think it's meant to be a realistic.
No, I realize. I realize that. I realize that.
Yeah, it's just graphic design.
Yeah.
But this is the poster that I remember.
Oh yeah.
This and the teaser poster.
It was everywhere when that movie came out.
When it came out, and
the movie was huge, right?
It was huge, and it was no, I still love that.
No, that's a good. Like I said, it was. I was very close to. This was one of the ones I didn't take.
The only reason that it's at this point rather than any higher is because it's because it is still quite plain. There's not a lot going on necessarily, so I sort of bumped it down a little bit for that. But in terms of my personal whoa, that was so iconic. It's pretty huge. Yeah.
This is in the would put it on the wall level of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it quite makes it.
No, not quite there.
I'm pretty picky with that, though.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So now on to my number 2.
Ooh, 2.
You're the Comet.
You know what? I didn't even see that one when I was looking. I mean, I saw it listed, but I didn't look at it.
It's interesting because this is the theatrical poster.
Okay.
Then there's another poster that just shows the main 2 characters kind of standing there, and it has sort of a very simplified version of this, doesn't have the boat in it or anything like that, and it's kind of faded in the background,
right?
With the sun, and it just most of the poster is just the 2 main characters on kind of a black background, and that was I think that was what was on the VHS and everything on the DVD, and mostly when you go look for the poster, that's what you get. But this is the actual theatrical poster.
Okay. Well,
and I was it looks so good. The big wine glass and the sunset and I've seen this movie, remember nothing about it. I probably saw it at the time, or
don't know anything about it.
But
title rings a vague bell, but that may just be because I've seen it listed.
Penelope Ann Miller,
cool.
And I think it's Tim Daly.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Are the 2 main characters.
Interesting.
But
yeah, don't know much about it. It's very nice though.
But yeah, it's
very
a real
pleasing palette.
Yeah, reds and oranges and blues. It is what they say, about movie posters. Like, oh yeah, blue and orange. Why do you see blue and orange sometimes? It's very pleasing,
Yeah. Well, it also catches the eye too, so it does sort of double duty.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So your number 2. Oh yeah. I don't like this one because it's got a bee in the eye.
It's not in the eye.
It's a good poster.
It's on the edge.
But that bee is getting in that eye.
It is a fantastic poster, though.
Yeah.
Because you can see, like, speaking of silhouettes.
Yes.
You can see the silhouette of the Candyman where, like, the pupil would be. Mm-hmm. But it's, like, in there. Mm-hmm. It's a great...
And they double duty the silhouette because he's silhouetted. His hook is not. His hook is actually lit, which is
That's really cool.
It draws emphasis to the
awesome.
hook.
Yeah. And then you have the eye, you have the bee,
and then stark white around that,
and then the white, just like the super like high.
Like I don't know whose eye this is, but they need to get some sun because
I don't think it's an actual
no
person. I think it's just meant to be like a representation.
Yeah.
And then of course Darius say his name 5 times. You get the tagline thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really tagline. It's like a poster tagline.
It's the poster.
It's not really a movie tagline. Because when they say we dare you, well, who's we? I guess like the people selling the people putting out the poster. I guess.
Yeah.
But Candyman from the chilling imagination of Clive Barker. Mm-hmm. Obviously a great horror movie of the time at a time when there wasn't a whole lot of good horror movies coming out. The 90s was pretty sad.
Yeah. Especially early 90s.
Especially early 90s for horror. It's kind of what led to like Scream as being kind of like we're bringing back horror, but also kind of like commenting on and like making fun of it almost in terms of like the tropes and stuff. Yeah. Because at that point it was so like done. Yeah. That like it was all that was left was to just basically like make like something super meta that commented on all the tropes because it was just had been run into the ground.
And thank goodness they did. Like Scream was done so well. Like
exactly. I'm not a huge fan of Scream, but I 100% give it credit for the fact that it basically saved horror and brought it back because people actually was like, started to care again and actually started to think about like what are interesting things we can do with it. Mm-hmm. Whereas like it had gotten into such a rut. Yeah. But Candyman is one of the few like good ones, and no surprise being from Clive Barker. Mm-hmm. I know he didn't make the actual movie, but it's I
have to not look at it.
It's really that bad.
The bee in the eye is really not, which is strange.
It's because on the corner. It's not even in the eye.
I am
think 3-dimensionally. Yeah. 3-dimensionally.
I see the bee feet. The bee feet are touching the inside of the eyelid.
But it wouldn't be in the eye. It would be in front of the eye.
He's on the eye. Which is fun because I'm normally fine with stuff like that. Like when people you watch the YouTube videos of the person and this would probably get you, but we're like, they like pet tarantula and they keep it in their mouth to keep it warm and stuff like that. Like that doesn't give me the heebies.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mind that.
Oh, you don't mind that? No. Okay.
I wouldn't do it myself.
No. But that doesn't give me the heebies at all.
No.
Something, and I think it's because it's so zoomed in.
Yeah.
If this showed a whole face. Yeah. With a bee in front of the eye,
then who would care?
I would be fine.
But it would be like way less. It'd be way less impactful, though.
I'm just like, Bee, what are you doing, Bee?
I think it's excellent.
No, it is good. It is good. It's doing exactly what it should do.
I'm almost on the verge of like, maybe I should have made that my one.
Oh, yeah? Oh, well, now I'm excited to see what your one is. Oh, okay.
But I didn't. So it's my 2. But it is amazing. It is really good. You know what? If I noticed that the hook was lit up, I might have made it 1.
Yeah. So speaking of 1, this is my number 1. Delicatessen.
Oh, it's Japanese poster,
It's the Japanese poster.
It's exactly the same.
Except it's in Japanese. The reason this is is
the only like good quality.
Is very good quality.
Fair enough. Yes,
all the English ones were like faded out.
I did see it in my passing, and see this would be more like my reaction of like your reaction to the last one. Like, this is just like oh, nasty. Like, I don't want to look at it.
Yeah. The background is a red that is just like, but what is it? Is that wood? What is that supposed to be? The weird pig. I love the composition of this poster. It really, again, it's the red and gold, and the red are, like it pops.
Especially because if you've seen the movie.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
It's not about eating pig.
This is one of the, and I brought this up before, actually. This has come up on the podcast a few times on what we've watched, is I have not seen this movie. And everything I know about this movie, I'm like, I should watch that movie because I know I'm probably going to like it. It's like weird sci-fi.
Have you seen City of Lost Children?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like City of Lost Children.
Yeah.
And that's the Ron Perlman one, right?
Yeah.
No, I like City of Lost Children. Yeah. And what? Same director?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jean-Michel Jeunet.
Yes.
Who also did Alien Resurrection, was like his first like English movie.
Oh yeah, we love Alien Resurrection.
But his French
in this house, we love Alien Resurrection.
Well, love to talk about it, to make fun of it. Yeah. But no. Yes. But that and City of Lost Children, that was Genet's like original like French stuff. He might have made other ones too. Those are the two like big ones.
But yeah, no, this was when I immediately got together my first like set of posters that I was like, okay, this is my short list of posters. This was immediately my number one. Like, I was like, it's everything about it, just the simplicity, the way it pops, not having seen the movie kind of makes my, like, it's like, what on earth would this movie be about? Because you see this and it's like, well, is it about a delicatessen? Is it about, like, what is this about? So that's sort of what drove me to put it as my number one. So,
and I'm gonna guess that this was the international release was 92, because this is actually 91.
I don't know. It was in the.
I'm gonna guess because it was released in France in 91.
Yes. There is a whole slew of movies that were 92, and that was the American release. And so, because that's what I go with. I go with whatever the American
I agree.
release
I'm not
is.
saying that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that made it.
It is technically, I believe,
harder to find because I'm looking in 92.
Oh yeah. It was under Wikipedia. It was in 92.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying that's wrong. I just because
because that caught me a few times with a couple of movie posters I had, because I went and then tried to find, like, I'm like, such and such a movie, and I was like, why does it say 91? And then I look on IMDb and be like, because it released like usually it's like France or something like that, or a foreign country, and then it's like 8 months later or a year later it was actually the American
release. Just those two before, so it was Delicatessen and then City of Lost Children,
and then straight to
Alien Resurrection, and then he went back to French for Amélie, or however you say that.
Amélie, Amélie. I love Amélie.
He did that, and then he's done, I think, kind of a mix since then. But
Amélie's a great movie.
Yeah. Well, that was what he went back to do after Alien Resurrection. Yeah. So
it worked out for him. Amélie, huge hit.
Yeah,
I think that like Oscar nomination.
It worked out. So. But the first two, Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, which was like 95.
Yeah, no, I quite like City of Lost Children.
Yeah. Well,
it's got that grungy,
you should check out
dystopia that I like. Yeah,
you should check out Delicatessen. Yeah, because you've seen most of his.
I think the only thing I know about this movie is like there's a scene with a head on a plate, and like that's all I know. So all right, your number one. Mm-hmm. So this is what may or may not be better than the Candyman.
Well, yeah. I mean, they're both. It's neck and neck.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard.
So I love this poster because it's very dramatic, and like it just has this real like without doing it's like a way to do the thing that posters sometimes do, where they kind of like. It's almost like what you said with The Power of One, where it's just it's like a little trailer for the movie in poster form almost. Like some posters where it's like they literally just pick like an image from the movie. And then they make that like the poster and stuff. And it's kind of like that, but it's just done so perfectly. Like the way, like what they picked and how it doesn't tell you anything specific, really. It's just it gives you just the dramatic
Yeah.
Sort of aspect of it. Like it's just has this real.
The way they do it, the monocolor is very nice. That's makes everything else pop. That red line on the bodyguard.
Like it's almost black and white.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like blue.
It's like the blue equivalent of sepia.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a blue equivalent of sepia. And I like.
I'm sure there's a word for that.
yeah. There's a word for that. But yeah, it's got a nice, like, simple but designed logo. Like it's not just a basic font. Like it has some design element, but it's still quite simple. It doesn't really like draw too much away from.
Choice of font on a movie poster can make or break. There's a number of posters that I had that were like, I like the art, but like the name of the movie, like bad font, too big, too small, just in the way, just really can wreck a lot of, like, no matter what else you've done good on a poster. Yeah. If you do the movie title badly, it can really...
It's definitely an example of, like, a movie where, like, I feel like I'm not that big of a fan of the movie itself, but it's fine. But the promise of the poster is, like... It's kind of like when we... it's like, when we did Career Opportunities, was that what's called?
Yes, Career Opportunities.
The one with Frank Wally, where he's like in the Target overnight with Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
And it was that whole thing where, like, because there was that music video that someone made of clips
out of the movie,
with Space Age Love Song, and it was like, it really was like the drama, the emotion of it, and then like that's a movie that has like a very good poster as well.
Yeah.
Even though it's just the characters, but the way it's done and the trailer makes you kind of feel like and then like when we did the movie, it was just
it was fine.
It was just really kind of meh.
Yeah.
But it's like the promise of like what the movie could be by like
that movie's famous for one scene.
The emotion and and rightfully so. But I would have preferred it
if it had been a better movie
of a better movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when you take the images of the movie and put them in a different context, it really like increases. It makes you, because it leaves so much up to your imagination as to like what you're feeling, like the feelings that are evoked by. And I mean, and that's what like music is like in general. Like music is always like that, because it's like you're just hearing, and it's like your mind is creating the emotional impact, for yourself. And so like the thing about this poster is that like even without seeing the movie, you're just like, wow, that's so like dramatic and emotional, and like what is the context?
It does portray a lot of emotion,
and it makes it feel like very like, whoa, that it's so powerful. And like the movie itself it's fine.
When I look at this poster, the actual shot of Costner carrying Whitney Houston there, it for some reason it gives me a lot of, it's very like, when you squint, it's like, wait, is that Deckard carrying?
Yeah,
it gives me real.
Because he's got a similar kind of haircut,
and she's wearing the same sort of the get like
he's got a similar kind of haircut.
Dancer's get up,
like a long coat, or like sort of mid level coat, I guess. It's got a bit of a Blade Runner. I didn't think about it that way, but that certainly doesn't hurt it.
No.
To have that connection happening in the brain.
What's her name's character from
no, I get you. It's anyways, so that was the one where I was like, I literally first thing I thought of when was
this poster?
Wow. So it was basically, this was the first one that was a definite on the list. And then it was just a matter of like where on the list, and then like when I was finding everything else, I was just like, eventually it was just narrowing down to like, no, it has to be number one because of that dramatic emotional impact that it has. But Candyman's close, because that is a killer poster. So I was definitely very, very close on that. But Bodyguard edged out Candyman just a tiny bit. So there
the one that immediately popped into my mind Aladdin. Doing this,
well, it's the
Aladdin where it's just the lamp.
It's the Aladdin equivalent of the Beauty and the Beast one you did last time.
Where it's the super simple, super minimalist, where it was just like, and like I mean, you know the story. Yeah. Everybody knows the story. Yeah. You know, but like it just peaks, and also like visually has a good pop. And that was one of the ones that I like. But that one, and then the other one that didn't quite make my list was a movie called White Sands, which I'm not familiar with.
You almost did that one too.
Where it's the like it's like a modern version of the North by Northwest poster.
If I was gonna have an honorable mention, it would have been White Sands.
That was the one we were talking about this before recording this. Where that was the one where it took me like 20 plus minutes to find a decent copy of the poster.
Well, it's probably good that
you would have just passed because you would have
probably would have got real frustrated.
Yeah.
But that was the only other one that I saw that I was like, maybe.
Yeah. Where it's he's running on the sand with the helicopter, and then in the sky is the silhouette of the side of her face.
But I really wanted to stick with like ones that I actually really connected with and like actually cared about, rather than sort of like, oh, I'll put this in just because I need another spot filled.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Which is how it feels sometimes. Like 71 was a lot like that because it was so hard for me to find 5 for 71 that I actually liked.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you had a real hard time.
It was so hard.
Yeah, you didn't quite embrace the crappiness of 71 the way I did.
I didn't like that style at all. Even less so than the 90s style. Yeah. So.
All right, well, let's spin the wheel here and find out.
Hopefully something different. Hopefully
hope it's on 93.
Not 90s again.
Yeah. All right.
Anything but 90s.
Spinning the wheel. Here we go.
51?
Wow, 50. So that is that's 20 years after 71, right, before our 80.
Yeah, I mean, 51. I mean, it might only be hard to find.
Yeah.
Just because of the age.
That is our oldest one.
By far, yeah. But, I mean, I like 50s era posters. There's a bunch of movies from...
I think that the toughest thing is going to be finding... I mean, it's not a requirement for this episode. No, because in...
like original posters?
Original
like
poster.
Actual posters from the time.
A lot of posters during this era, this is actually before the...
the standard...
The standard 27 by 40. Yeah, they're going to be 40 by...
Yeah, they might be.
They're going to be the other way. Yeah.
Well,
but it doesn't matter. Like, that's not really...
We'll make it work.
I had one of those in my 71s
also
already.
Very interesting because there are a number of movies, like 51 is like a big year. Like there's a number of movies that I'm a very big fan of, and it'll be interesting to see if any of those have
even like
posters that I like, or if it's another case of like all the movies I really like from that year don't actually have great posters, and I'm gonna pick other stuff, you know. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad it was almost 95.
I know, and I was like, not another 90s.
Not another 90s, come on.
90s, yeah.
But 51, that's interesting. I'm into that.
All right. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with that. Until then, my name is Chris.
This is Emmett.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.